Hey everybody, and welcome to the channel. I'm Pastor Siri. I'm a Lutheran pastor and a spiritual seeker, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the spiritual significance of winter solstice as well as Christmas in a way that sort of comes together, combines, and expands a little bit beyond maybe some of the traditional understandings you've heard. So take a listen. So first of all, one of the things I think is beautiful is that we have these cycles of seasons. We don't just have linear time that's moving forward. It's kind of a traditionally masculine way of seeing the world in which you're just plowing forward in a linear way, but rather a more feminine way that you might understand the world is that there's sort of a spiral that's happening, that we have all of these seasons in which we return back to the same point, and yet not a full circle because we're continuing to shift and to grow. And so you come back a year later to a time of darkness and winter solstice and Christmas, and you're in a different place than you were maybe a year ago. If you look back at where you were a year ago, you can probably see that in the last year, there have been changes. There have been things you've learned about yourself and about the world. There may have been things that you've been able to heal. There have been things you've been able to release, or maybe you've let things go that you've grieved, or maybe you've gotten something new in your life. And so the beauty of seasons in general is just when we come back to them, we're able to use the particular imagery and the particular gift of that season as a way to reflect on where we are in life now. And so where are we in life now as we're approaching winter solstice and Christmas, which are beautifully so close together and very intentionally that way? We are in a time of the darkest dark, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere. This is a time in which still to this day, we're getting a few minutes less of sunlight every day. And that is going to hold itself for a while. I did actually once look at the sunrise, sunset at this time because too much darkness can sometimes depress me. And I was noticing that it just seems as if around Christmas, it holds that darkness for the long period of time. Just like in the summer solstice, it holds that light for a longer period of time and doesn't let it go for a little bit. So here we are in this dark part, and what does darkness represent? Well, as we're approaching this darkness, of course, we often sleep in the darkness. And so there's a sense of resting, of recuperating, of hibernating, of storing up. But also, in the time of darkness, we think about what is hidden, what is not seen very well, maybe what is kept secret, the subconscious, dreams, things that are not easily visible. And that even may be emotions and feelings and memories. There's a lot of us, if we think about inside of ourselves, there's a lot of who we are that we may push down into darkness, into shadow. And there's a lot that we just don't know about ourselves. That's the subconscious. If you think about the dreams we have at night and how strange some of them can be, it's like our subconscious is trying to work out so many different interesting things. So the realm of dark is mysterious, it is fascinating, it is secretive, and it can sometimes feel scary because of its potency and because of its unknownness. And yet it holds so much power and can be so beautiful when we learn to embrace it and go deep inside that darkness. One of the things that many brilliant people have observed is that, especially in Christianity as well as in other faiths, there is this often focus on the sun, literally the sun, and enlightenment and light as being the good thing, that where we should be, and often darkness and secrets and that which remains hidden, and with it the murkiness of feelings and emotions. All of that stuff tends to be demonized because it's not out in the sun, it's not out there with its exuberance and with its loudness and with its clarity. And so we have demonized the darkness and have often dismissed the potency of this time. But I invite you to think a little bit about that darkness in a positive way, because here we are, we've come back full circle. We're in this time of the deep darkness. And what is it that is hidden? What is it about rest? What is it about germination, about that which is underneath the surface that wants to start to get noticed? Because the other thing about this time is that when we slow down and when we embrace the darkness and when we get quiet, things can come to the surface more easily. When we're running around busy, and we're in the sun and we have a lot of energy and a lot of activity, often we're so busy that things can remain hidden in the back because we're so busy facing the sun that we're not looking around and looking at our shadow. And so this time of winter solstice can be a time where we do try to embrace quiet, darkness, slow down a little bit because all of nature is slowing down. And when we can mimic that a little bit, it can allow for things to surface. And I know that can be really scary, but it doesn't have to be. This point in your life, something is ready to surface that wasn't a year ago, that wasn't 5 years ago, that is wanting to be noticed now. And it can be a beautiful thing. It can be an idea. It can be a new way of living. It can be a project that you want to bring forward. It also could be something that you want to heal, that you weren't ready for before, but now you're at this point in time when you're like, I am so sick of this. I am so tired of this. I don't want this anymore. Whether it's a thought pattern, a behavior, something someone else is doing that you're just done with and you have no time for anymore. And you are now at this point of doneness, of fulfillment, of readiness. And to me, that is such a beautiful thing about this darkness is we can think about what has been hidden that's now coming up. And with that sense of darkness comes this beautiful idea of the womb. The womb, of course, the womb of God, the womb of the universe, the wombs that we have are these dark places in which life germinates and eventually is going to come to light. But it takes time and it takes a lot of energy. I know that when I was pregnant with both of my children, I slept an insane amount of time. I'm a big sleeper anyway. I'm just someone who needs a lot of rest. But at that time, I slept good 10 hours at night, plus a nap in the afternoon. I really needed all of that energy to pour into making a human being. And so when we think about this womb, we're going and returning to the womb to see what about us can germinate, what about us can start to be forming more and deeper and in a clear way, so that as we emerge with the light and as we move forward into the new year with the growing light, something new can emerge with us. With this idea of the womb, we bridge now to Christmas. And I love this idea because Mary, in the traditional story, Mary was the womb of God. She was the portal through which Jesus was able to come from the unseen into the seen, from the spirit into earth. We have this beautiful chapter in the beginning of John that says, in the beginning, the Word was made flesh. And so here we have the Word, this ethereal thought, this vibration in the universe that needed a portal through which to come into the world. And I believe that Mary was asked. She was asked, would you want to be this portal? Do you want to be the womb of God? And that took enormous power and vulnerability and courage on her part to put herself in a position to say yes to that, especially given that she was young and unmarried. And that's the other piece about this, is when there's things in darkness, things that are hidden that want to come forth on us, new ideas, new ways of being, that takes a lot of vulnerability and courage for us to say yes to what's coming up, to that invitation of saying, could you be a portal for bringing this new thing into the world? I think about the projects that I have done over the years, whether it's recording music or writing some of the books I have, or even doing this YouTube channel. many, many things, trips that I've taken where I will wake up at 3 a.m. in the dark and my fears will surface. My fears of this is going to cost money. What will people think? People won't like it. What if? What if? And those need to come to the surface so that I can deal with them, but they are not what decides my life and my fate and what I decide to do. And in the daytime, I have a lot more courage to be able to say, I'm choosing to bring this forward. I'm choosing to birth this new creation. I'm going to do so courageously and compassionately and to the best of my ability. So that's the one thing I want you to think about is in this darkness, if you yourself, all of us, whether you're male, female, both, neither, we all have a portal, a womb center, a creative center in which ideas and ways of being and projects that are out there in the ether are going to come into fruition through us. And it takes courage, it takes vulnerability, because our creations, our new ways of being, our new boundaries, our whatever it is, may not be well received. And I think too about Mary and Jesus and how she birthed this child who was both loved and hated, who people followed and also people crucified. And so you definitely have, wow, what a risk. What a risk to bring forth somebody with such a powerful mission, knowing that it could not necessarily end perfectly or with a nice little bow on it. Nothing that we bring into this world has a guarantee that it was going to be perfectly well received and loved, no matter how good it is. But it still asks to be born. It still asks for a portal through which it can come into this world. The last thing that I want to share, and this is something that has been capturing my imagination for many years. I grew up with this idea that Jesus was the Word made flesh, and he was unique. He was the only one. He was perfectly human, perfectly divine, the result of a lot of theological arguments that men had in the 3rd and 4th century. And what I have been reading from so many different faiths and spiritualities is really this idea that each one of us is a Word made flesh. Each one of us is the vibration that comes from Source, from God, through a portal that a woman brought forward into this world. And we are all of us unique and special and beloved. And as we are human, we also have, because we come from God, we are children of God. And therefore, when we realize our divinity, we become fully human. And that's a very Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene understanding, which I find incredibly powerful. In the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, Jesus calls himself the Ihadiah. He calls himself the child of humanity. And in that understanding, it's a title given someone who's fully realized who they are, but it's not unique to Jesus. He is saying that anyone and everyone can realize this about themselves with enough spiritual maturity and enough work and understanding. And as we see in Mary Magdalene's gospel, she has to go down to some degree into these depths in order to greet the 7 powers to come back out into the fullness of who she is. And so that's something that's possible for each of us, this understanding that we are already beloved children of God, but to fully embrace our full divinity and thus our full humanity is a journey that is a special, unique journey. And in many ways, this understanding that Jesus came to be an incarnation, to fully embody his whole self, to show his followers that they could do that as well. Jesus never intended to be that unique, only person that everyone was going to go, oh, you're so great. Hey, let's build temples and let's start worshiping you. And he would have been like, how is that? No, please don't. Follow me. Let me show you the way towards a fullness of life. Let me show you the seed that is in you, that is the kingdom of God, the seed that is in you, that is the piece of divinity that was born in you. and let's let that sprout. Let's find ways to water that. So like a mustard seed that grows and grows and grows and grows endlessly throughout this life. So to me, Christmas is not just celebrating Jesus's birth, but celebrating what that incarnation might mean for us, that we can see ourselves in that story, that we can be Mary, a portal who's bringing more of heaven to earth. We can see ourselves also in Jesus, in knowing that we too are the Word made flesh. And that when we realize that through our heart and through our compassion, when we live fully who we are, we can be that bridge between heaven and earth in our own bodies. And we could look at all the other characters in that story. I love Joseph and how his non-toxic masculine self was there to gently protect this family, to gently protect what was coming into the world so that it could grow into fruition. So this is a time of mystery and awe. This is a time of heaven coming to earth, of spirit and matter all colliding. This is a time of darkness, a time of the womb of God that is germinating something new in the world, in you, in me. And so I just invite you to find some time in this season, in the next few weeks, to really get quiet and maybe do some journaling about what wants to be birthed in you, what is surfacing in you. What is it that the newness, a healing, a new boundary, a new idea, whatever it is, what wants to come up through you. That, by the way, will hopefully help you to realize more of the fullness of who you truly are. So that's what I have for you for this winter solstice Christmas. I hope this gives you a few things to think about and some images and archetypes to chew on, to do your own work and your own reflection. And maybe you'll come up with something way better and deeper and more poignant. And if so, I'd love to hear it in the comments. So have a beautiful season. Bye-bye.